Hey team, right, this is my take on training at home. I'm going to start putting together some videos for you guys to work on. This first one's really important to watch because it's going to take you through a few key elements that are going to help you be really successful if you are training at home. It's pretty unique in its own way. I think we've all found over the last couple of weeks that if you're used to training in the gym, or you're used to training outside, or you're used to doing classes, for example, it's obviously totally different, right? And even when you're doing an online class, there are things like there's not that buzz of all the people in the room, and there's not the community element, but we're making use of the tools that we've got, and I think we're really lucky with the technology that we've got in this day and age to be able to still communicate and still work out and work on sort of our health and fitness at home. There are certainly plenty of challenges in terms of the home environment. My key ones are probably distractions, being the first one being probably the fridge, the pantry, and then the kids. Now, even if you're by yourself and you don't have kids or you don't have other people around, it's really easy to get distracted by what's in the fridge. So, just maybe trying to find somewhere where you can train where you're not looking at the fridge. It's going to be really important. Any other distractions we'll sort of get to later, but you might actually find that in terms of setting up a good environment, it might be in your room, it might be in your garage, it might be outside on your patio or something like that, where you've got the least amount of distractions. That's going to make it really successful. The other thing's equipment. So obviously if you're used to using certain pieces of equipment, you're just not going to have that, and it's fine. Hopefully this is not for that long. Hopefully it's for 4 weeks max. It might be for a bit longer, but you know what, we'll get through it, and we'll get back to the gym, and we'll get back to being able to train outside and in those classes and those sorts of things, and we'll get back to having all that equipment available to us, and you just pick it back up where you left off. So don't stress too much about that. I think that's where goals are going to come into this, and also thinking about how you're going to make this work best for you. So I think 2 key things are going to be skills. So maybe starting to look at some skills that you could work on at home that you might have wanted to work on for a while, but you've never really put the time into. And then the other thing is weak areas. So we tend to get into a bit of a groove, and we tend to do what we're good at, and a lot of us work on weaknesses, but this time now it's actually a really good time to step back and look at your body and say, okay, well, where am I weak? What do I struggle at when I do my normal training? What do I notice? Do I notice that, my right shoulder really struggles quite a bit when I'm doing push-ups, or my left hip's a little bit sticky when I squat, those sorts of things. And you'll know those things, but you'll often just put them to the side and keep working on the things that you're good at, and that's okay. But now I think it's going to be a really good time to look at those weak points and say, you know what, for the next 4 to 6 weeks, it's going to be a great time to start working on those weak points. So I'm going to give some examples of how we can do that in my next video, where we start some basic exercises to use at home. The next big challenge will be timing, and how you do this and how you fit it in is going to be unique to you. So there's the how often, and you might fit it in multiple times a day for 10 minutes. You might do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 4 times a day. That's totally fine. You don't have to put aside half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. That might not be realistic. It might be, but you don't have to sort of commit to that timing if you don't want to. You've got the time flexibility of being at home all day, so you can break it up into chunks if you want. You're still going to get the same value out of it. And the other key thing, and I've noticed this a lot over the last couple of weeks, is there's obviously been a massive explosion of at-home workouts, and one of the sort of, I suppose, the big things is the volume or the amount of repetitions of certain exercises. If I go back to weak points and I go back to skills, I think your time is better spent working at a higher intensity, trying to get stronger, than doing 100 reps of something. I just don't think that doing 100 reps of anything will be of that great a value when you return to what you normally do. If we think about trying to get stronger and build on our weaknesses, a higher intensity of less reps more often, so you might break it up throughout the day, that's going to serve you better in the long run than just trying to bust out 100 squats. So that's something to think about, and it's something to definitely think about when you're looking at things on the internet and social media. You're going to be bombarded with a lot of the stuff of doing 50 burpees. Have a think about it. Think about how your time would be best served, because your time is still precious. Even though we have a lot of it at home, it is still precious time, so don't waste it. And then one last thing is that, even though we are stuck at home and we have to train at home, I think it's still really important to touch on getting outside. We went for a bush walk this morning. We're really lucky. You can see behind me, we've got all this native bush here. And, we all just felt amazing after it. And so I think the more you can get outside, it's really good for our mental health and our well-being. You're going to bump into people, so there's that social element to that. You've still got that social distancing, but you might bump into your neighbours or people in the community that and even just having a chat for 30 seconds is really good for our mental health. So I think complementing training at home with getting outside is a really good balance. And then the other things that we can do outside, obviously, you can go for a run or a walk or a bike or even sprints. We're lucky we've got a hill here, so we've been doing hill sprints a lot, and it's just making use of your environment. So I would definitely say get outside. Don't feel like you have to train inside all the time and have this amazing at-home workout program. Outside's going to complement it. So definitely get outside. Definitely think about some skills, some weaknesses, and don't be too hard on yourself in terms of putting aside time. The time is there. I think find a good environment, whether it's your bedroom or a certain place where you're not distracted. Have some key things that you're going to work on, and then this could be a really successful 4 weeks